At Stanford University, during a high-profile event, President Obama faced a pointed question about leadership. The question, simple yet direct, asked how one can lead without being seen as weak. Obama paused for a moment, his expression calm, before responding with a depth of humility that captured the room's attention. He spoke not of power or force, but of restraint, explaining that the loudest person in the room isn't necessarily the strongest. Instead, strength lies in how one handles fear, not in shouting over others. The answer, delivered with grace and quiet confidence, was a stark contrast to the volatile rhetoric that had become common in political discourse. The most afraid, which quickly trended worldwide. Trina, a close advisor, watched in awe from backstage, whispering to Carlos, "He just changed the narrative completely." Carlos, unfazed, replied, "No, he reminded everyone who he really is." Meanwhile, in Washington, the White House was in chaos. Trump's aides watched in real time as the internet exploded with reactions to Obama's words. One advisor muttered, "He's dismantling the argument without even mentioning him." Trump sat in the Oval Office.
You could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Staring at the split-screen coverage. His face appeared beside Obama's on TV, and the contrast was impossible to ignore. Trump, feeling the sting of Obama's composed response, grabbed his phone and tweeted, calling Obama's message weak. His tweet quickly spread, but it failed to land as expected. Instead of enraging Obama's supporters, the tweet sparked responses from moderates and independents who were beginning to grow weary of the constant online warfare. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. He just called him weak after being schooled by a lecture on strength. By the time the event at Stanford concluded, the public had already begun to digest the powerful difference in tone between the two men. Backstage, Obama shook hands with students, gracious and humble as always, while Trina fielded phone calls from news outlets, each clamoring for a statement. "They're calling it the moment of clarity," she said to Obama.
Tonight, Obama fighting back, the former president calling out President Trump in a way that we have not seen before.
"That's generous," Obama replied.
I mean, imagine what Trump would say if he actually had a record like this.
"This moment just shifted public perception," he said, adding, "People aren't debating anymore. They're comparing." Back at the White House, Trump wasn't done. The following morning, he called an impromptu press conference, determined to counter Obama's growing influence. "You've all seen the clips," Trump began, his voice brimming with anger. He accused Obama of hypocrisy, of being weak, and of not doing enough during his 8 years in office.
I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers.
The tone was far different from Obama's measured response the day before. Trump was loud, combative, and defensive. And as he continued to attack, the press room grew more chaotic. He insisted that while Obama spoke of fear, it was Trump who was confronting real challenges head-on. "I'm not the one hiding behind speeches," he declared, visibly seething. Trump's fiery response, though dominating the news cycle.
Well, I just had the opportunity to have an excellent conversation with President-elect Trump. It was wide-ranging. We talked about some of the organizational issues.
Only seemed to amplify Obama's composed and dignified approach. While Trump attempted to control the narrative through anger, Obama remained silent, letting his actions and his tone speak for themselves. Trump shouting behind a podium, Obama sitting calmly with students, became the defining visual metaphor of the week. Social media erupted with hashtags like Rush, Loud V Strong, and Leadership Matters. Some commentators praised Obama for exemplifying what it meant to be a leader with empathy and maturity. Others took issue with the notion that Obama had somehow won by merely speaking calmly. But even as the debate raged, there was a noticeable shift in public sentiment. For the first time in a long while, Americans were not just debating political issues, but reflecting on what kind of leadership they truly wanted. One elderly man, Harold, sitting in a Des Moines diner, summed up the prevailing sentiment. "I voted for Trump twice, but I miss when presidents didn't sound like they were yelling at everyone." His wife, smiling gently, replied, "You miss calm." Across the nation, teachers began showing Obama's Stanford speech to their students, using it as a lesson on leadership. At a school in Baltimore, A teacher asked his class what they heard in Obama's tone. One student raised her hand and said, "It sounds like respect."